Welcome to the College Football Closing Line, Saturday, October 13th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by the big man on campus, Jeff Nadeau. We're going to break down every single Saturday college football game. Nobody else in sports betting, in the media, YouTube, whatever else you can think of is doing what we do on every Saturday, breaking down every game. Looking forward to it. As always, Jeff, how are you this morning?
Doing good, Ian. How are you?
Doing great, Jeff. It's a great card coming up. Looking forward to it. Let's get right to it. We got Louisville, Boston College, top of the card, first game on the rotation. Boston College, about 12.5 home favorite, total 56.5 in this game. A lot of Louisville money coming in. It's not mine. Tough game because I think I don't really trust Louisville at all. You look at the last couple of games, they got absolutely crushed by Georgia Tech last week. Heartbreaker against Florida State the week before. Not a lot to like. I think Bobby Petrino might be on his last legs here. Boston College, though, A.J. Dillon, questionable to play, may not play in this game. That's always a concern for Boston College. He's a focal point of that offense. Lean Boston College, but not a game I'm going to be laying the points with them in. Any thoughts, big man?
Yeah, the problem with Louisville is they can't score. They're only averaging about 20 points a game, which just isn't going to be enough. But I'm not really looking to lay 12 points with Boston College. It's not really the line value that I want with them. Look, if I'm under double digits, maybe I'm interested, but they're not a team that's particularly good on the defensive end. Look, you got to wonder if is there any pride from Louisville? Maybe they look at this game as a winnable game. You know, they have some winnable games coming up. They do have 2 wins. You kind of start the season maybe today. You had some tough outings, but look, I'm not ready to lay 12 points with Boston College. Especially with no Dillon. I'll tell you last week, Ian, if you had NC State last week, that's a tough beat for you. You're up 28-3 against Boston College. You end up only winning 28-23 and don't cover the number. A tough beat if you had NC State. But, yeah, I'm not ready. Look, if I'm getting points or laying a small number with Boston College, then I'm interested. But laying over double digits, yeah, I'm not interested. But they can put the nail in Louisville's coffin today.
No doubt about it. Miami FL and Virginia ACC. We've got Miami minus 6.5 on the road, total 46 in this game. I made a case here for Virginia, actually, +7. I made a small play on them. I've liked the Cavs. I've been a little bit higher on this Virginia team than a lot of people. I've liked the development of Bryce Perkins, their quarterback. I think he's been solid this season. Give Miami credit. They're off just an absolute steamroll over North Carolina. I think it's going to be a little bit more different for them. And N'Kosi Perry's probably the right choice to move him into the starting quarterback role instead of Malik Rozier, who to me just wasn't really a quarterback that ever impressed me a ton. It's a good job by Mark Richt doing that, but now he's on the road for the first time in ACC territory. Virginia's been a pretty tough out this season in a lot of their games. Really, the only really loss that you could say got away from them was NC State. No real shame in that. I think Virginia can hang in this game. Miami's going to have to prove it to me as a road chalk on the road and a quarterback only making a second start. So I went on in a little bit with Virginia here at the +7 price. Big man, you got any takes on this game?
No, not really. I think with this game, maybe it's a little bit more low scoring than we might think. Both these defenses are very good. Is Virginia ready to play against a team like this? This is a very good defensive team. For the record, Virginia hasn't really had a tough schedule so far. They're getting into the tough part of their schedule here with, Miami, and then they got Duke next week on Saturday. So yeah, I'm not sure if I love Virginia in this spot. I do like Perkins. Their defense has been good, and look, if they can defend in this game, I think they can keep it close. But I don't know. I don't have a big feel in this one. It's not one I looked into a whole lot. This is a lot of respect to Virginia, though. Only under basically a touchdown against a team like Miami. Are they ready for this kind of game? They haven't really played a schedule to warrant it maybe just yet, but it's a pass for me.
All right, Maction, Toledo, Eastern Michigan in Ypsilanti, near pick'em price range here in this game, total 62. I'm going to keep my opinion brief on this one. I've got nothing. I didn't really delve into this game a whole lot. I do know we got quarterback concerns on both sides heading into this football game. And Eastern Michigan, I'll tell you what, if you're betting on them to win games, hold your breath because they're the kings of losing these close games. They've been just a heartbreak city, one after another this season. So for me, I'm staying away. You got any thoughts on this one, big man?
Yeah, Guadagnini is going to play in this game. It looks like he's probable. So that's kind of a real bet on situation for me. I like Toledo. I think this is a case of I don't think Eastern Michigan can keep up totally. They have their own problems, like you said, not only on offense, but finishing games out and who's going to play. I mean, they've lost 4 straight. And it's really been a sad state of affairs for them just because of how they've lost these games. I mean, every game they lost was by 7 points or less. I mean, that's where you don't make bowl games because of games like that. This team could very well be 5-1, 6-0 even. And they're against good teams as well. They just found ways to lose games, and that doesn't bode well to me against a team like Toledo. They're at home here, but I think this is just a case of I don't think they can keep up with Toledo here.
Yeah, that's going to be the problem for Eastern Michigan. They're going to have to keep this game tight. If they fall behind, they're not that come-from-behind team. They're not that quick strike offense you can count on to erase a big deficit. Texas A&M and South Carolina, very intriguing SEC battle here. We've got Texas A&M, a 2.5-point road favorite, total 52. Pretty much across the board. I laid it with A&M as the small road chalk here in this game. I just think they're superior. I'm going to need to see South Kakalaki step up and beat a solid foe in this conference before I can believe it. I have not seen it yet. I do think Skarnecchia played okay last week in that game for them against Missouri. We'll see if that can carry through here. Bentley was banged up entering that football game. On the Texas A&M side, I liked a lot about this team. I mean, they took Clemson to the wire. They've had some very solid performances so far this season. Kellen Mond's taken a step forward. They can run the football. They've played solid defense, and I think they're an all-around better football team. Going on the road in SEC country is never an easy thing to do, and it's never easy to win on the road in this conference. But I think A&M's just a more well-rounded football team right now, and laying less than a field goal with A&M, don't mind doing that whatsoever. So I'm on the A&M side here, big man. You got any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I sure see your point, but this line just doesn't smell. This kind of smells to me. I think they're kind of baiting people to take A&M under field goal. I think South Carolina is largely obscured to a lot of people. They are, though, at home. They have a real good offense. I think defensively they're pretty solid. I haven't been overly impressed with A&M, at least lately. Really, I mean, you really have to ask yourself, when have you ever really been impressed? Other than the Clemson game, I guess they were pretty good in that game. But, they're beating teams they should, which is no surprise. And, you look at the step-up games, they've lost those games. This is a dangerous game going on the road. South Carolina's kind of taking care of business against the teams that they should. And then they've lost to Georgia and Kentucky. So two teams in very similar situations to me. I don't really understand this line. I feel like it should be a little more. I lean South Carolina, frankly.
All right, we got Monroe and Coastal Carolina. Chanticleers, 6.5 home favorites here, total 66.5 in this game. Kilton Anderson back at quarterback for Coastal. That's big for them. He had been playing really good before he got injured earlier this season. This offense is very, very good. I was very impressed last year when they were just banged up beyond belief at the quarterback position, and they still found ways to move the football and put up points. I think you're going to see them move the ball at will. The Monroe defense has been pitiful. They let the Georgia States of the world basically move the football up and down the field against them. Coastal should score. Monroe, Caleb Evans, this offense is actually underwhelmed at times. That Georgia State game that I just mentioned, as bad as they were defensively, they had to struggle offensively against a bad defense there, which was a little surprising to me. But they've still got the weapons, I think, to maybe trade points. The over makes some sense to me. And I think as long as you can lay less than a touchdown, I think it's a good spot, good situation at home for Coastal, getting their quarterback back on the field. I would lean to the home team here.
Yeah, last year's game, 51-43. It was a wild one. And you're right about UL Monroe. They can't stop anybody. I mean, they've given up last 4 games, 48, 35, 46, and 70. They have really struggled. A lot of it's been in the passing game and really on the ground. I mean, you look at Ole Miss last week, Ian, they had over 820 yards total. It was an impressive outing from that offense. Obviously not as a dynamic one here, but with Kilton Anderson back at home, I wouldn't foresee them not being able to move the ball here. Both these teams struggle to get stops. I mean, look, we know UL Monroe's not good defensively, but Coastal Carolina is not much better. I would agree with you here. I think with Anderson back, that changes the dynamic of this team a little bit. I think that makes them more of an over team. Yeah, I lean over myself.
All right, next up we've got let me see on the place here. Purdue, Illinois, Big Ten. Purdue 10 on the road here. Total 64 has gone up. And boy, I had this game circled for over the total early in the week. I was actually going to send it out on the website that we've got, Big Man. But geez, I'm like, I can't ask people to take 63, 64 over the total when it opened 56. That's just bad precedent to set. That's just bad ethics as a handicapper. You can't tell people to bet 7 points, 8 points, the worst of it when a number's moved that much. And I'm not going to do that. But the over money makes perfect sense to me in this game. Illinois can't stop anybody. Purdue's offense is really starting to roll right now. David Blau has finally settled in as the quarterback on this Purdue team. They're going to move that football, but the defense has continued to struggle. They're still a little bit banged up. Illinois has shown capability, especially on the ground, to be able to move the football, and they might be able to make some hay doing that here in this game against this Purdue defense. So high-scoring shootout would not surprise me. I'm not really involved in the side. It's a lot to lay with Purdue on the road, even though they have the potential maybe to run away with this one, but I'm not trusting them ever in this kind of price range. But the over, if you got in early, good on you, as I think you're on the right train of thought here, looking at this game over the total.
Yeah, I think the first inclination is to take the over, and I don't think you're off there. I mean, Purdue is a team that, they've almost turned into West Kentucky now that Jeff Brom's there. They love to throw the ball. They've really abandoned the run, and they don't really get any stops on defense. Illinois, I've been involved with this team a lot. I know this team in and out. They're a team that they got some recruitments back on defense, but they really haven't been much better. They're still poor. They still can't get stops. And they're more of an up-tempo offense that likes to run the ball a ton, and they're pretty successful at it. Purdue's a team that's, I don't know, about 70th in the country against the run. They're not great, which doesn't bode well. Mike Epstein and the quarterback A.J. Bush can move the ball. I think the first inclination on the over is correct. But I look at the game and I think to myself, is Purdue good enough to really get a lead in this game and go to bed and hide? I don't think they are. That's not what they do. They're not really good enough on defense to do that. They don't lay double digits very often, Ian. It's just not something. And you look at this year, they did it once. They laid 7.5 to 10 points and weren't able to get the job done. They're just not good enough to lay points like this, especially on the road. This should be a fun game. And I would probably say, I don't know, 40, 44, 34, 44, 37, something like that. But Illinois is a team in that they have 3 wins. Okay, you look at this game, winnable game. You got Maryland, you got Minnesota, you got Nebraska coming up. These are winnable games. It's a long shot, but why can't this team make a bowl game? I think that's a goal of theirs. They've had a decent season. They played pretty well in games. I mean, remember, they were up on Penn State in that game. It's been a good season for them overall. I think they can look at this game as winnable. I don't think it's out of the question to think they can hang around here. 10 is a bit too much to me.
It's funny. I thought that Rutgers, the 2 dregs in the Big Ten, I thought Rutgers coming into the season was going to be the team to take a step forward, not Illinois, and it's been the reverse. Illinois has actually been more competitive. Illinois looks like they've got a little more life and progression in them. Rutgers has been just absolutely dismal, and Illinois proved that last week in the head-to-head game against Rutgers.
And as far as, and you're right. I mean, they took care of business there. Someone on the chat saying Illinois' defense will keep them in this. I'm not so sure. I've seen this team play. They're not good. But I got to tell you, I think on defense, they might be a little better than Purdue. The numbers don't really say it. Both these teams, Ian, Purdue 108th in the country in total defense, Illinois 114. So both these teams are pretty bad. Listen, if I need to stop, I wouldn't be depending on Illinois to get one. They're not very good at all.
Yeah, I was on Purdue and Nebraska over the total last week, and I did bet Purdue, Illinois over again earlier.
I had that also.
Be careful, though, with this here now that it's up to 64, but I still don't want it under. Ball State, Central Michigan, 2.5 Central Michigan at home, 54.5, 55 the total. 2 disappointing teams. I'm telling you what, Central Michigan's been disastrous this season. There's no way I would ever take them as a favorite here, but Ball State's been a really big disappointment to the point where on the road here, less than a field goal, I'm not sure I trust them, so I'm not involved, big man. You got any take on this Maction affair?
Yeah, I mean, not me either. I mean, I don't really have much either. Central Michigan, they just turned the ball over too much. Tony Polyan's a young quarterback. They're just kind of going through some restarts there at at Mount Pleasant. I don't have much on this one. Not a game I'm going to be involved with. Someone's asking if we can go in chronological order. We are. We're going in rotation number, which
Yep.
is the easiest way to keep track of these. But yeah, this is a pass for me. No interest.
Actually, over. I did have play the over a little bit. I think both offenses, they've sputtered at times, but they're going against some bottom tier defenses. I think they can get it rolling a bit. Over 54.5 was my play there, and that one, small one there. Duke, Georgia Tech, ACC action. Georgia Tech, home favorite here, total 55 across the board. I'll be honest, this is one of my favorite plays on the entire card today. David Cutcliffe's 8-1 straight up and against the spread against triple option teams. I mean, he has absolutely owned these teams. They played Army earlier this season. They shut down Army. And guess what? We're finding out Army's pretty decent. Army's had a decent little season to this point, the Black Knights. They've been able to move the ball at times. Hell, they took apart Buffalo in shocking fashion. Duke shut that team down. Duke's been tremendous against the triple option. They're off a bye week. Daniel Jones, an extra week to get healthier. Going into this game, Cutcliffe's 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, last 4 meetings against Georgia Tech. And you look at Georgia Tech, it's been a nice little season so far, no question. They piled up points. Taquan Marshall, the quarterback's been okay. But look who they beat. They beat Louisville, who's just fallen apart. Bowling Green can't stop the run, can't stop anybody. And Alcorn State, those are your wins. You played 3 good foes, 3 decent foes. You lost to them all and didn't cover against any of them. Clemson, Pitt, and South Florida, and you were favored against Pitt and South Florida. How's that South Florida loss looking now, too, after South Florida was dismal last night, barely got out of there with a win against Tulsa last night? I think Georgia Tech's a little fraudulent. I think Duke's in a great spot. They've shut down the triple option almost every time that David Cutcliffe's faced it here with this program. They're catching points. I think they're the better football team, well-rounded football team, and better defensive football team as well. And they're coming off a loss against Virginia Tech that I think is going to have them chomping at the bit to bounce back. Yeah, give me Duke here as an underdog. I think they win outright.
Yeah, and we've seen time and time again that David Cutcliffe is very good against the option, generally. Duke 29th in the country in rush defense. And look, when you have a team that can stop the run against a team that loves to run the ball, it's hard to watch. I mean, you look at last night, Ian, I had Air Force. What a brutal game to have. I mean, I don't know if you watched the game. There was a long delay. It was just dreadful. And both defenses are very good. You had a bad blocked punt right before the halftime buzzer. It was just a rough game, but Air Force couldn't move the ball because San Diego State was very good on defense. Both teams were very good against the run. And, Duke has shown over the years that they're good. I mean, they handle Army a lot of the time. They've been good against this option. And, I had my friend on, Ian, my mentor in the business many years ago. He's a very sharp guy from South Philly on my show yesterday on the radio. And he raved about Duke. He loved them in this game. I was very high on them here. I think the number move makes sense. It come down a little bit off of that 3. So, yeah, I like Duke. I think Daniel Jones makes him a bit more dynamic. Georgia Tech's just a one-trick pony, and when that one-trick pony isn't working, they're just not very good. I agree with you. I think Duke's the play. I think they bounce back here.
I think they only had 2 or 4 pass attempts, by the way, Georgia Tech in that game against Louisville last week. So you're right. If you shut down the run, it's still a limited passing game if you can get in on that triple option. Rutgers, Maryland. We've got Maryland 23.5. Big home favorite, total 51.5. I want nothing to do with this game. I'm not laying 23.5 with Maryland. It's just been too erratic there. The passing game just hasn't been there consistently enough. You'll be able to score points in this kind of price range to cover this kind of number. Maybe the passing game comes to life simply because you're playing Rutgers, and they're just beyond awful. They're beyond bad. They're complete garbage right now. But I don't want either of these sides in this price range, so it's a clear pass for me.
Yeah, I get the feeling Maryland rolls in this game. I think they got to get right game here at some point. I thought against Minnesota they were very good. That one was at home. They just haven't, been they've just been kind of inconsistent. But I think we all know that the Rutgers Scarlet Knights are terrible. So, I will say this. I was somewhat impressed last week with Arthur Sitkowski at times. He looked pretty good, but look, I have no interest in Rutgers on the road. This team's been enjoying a 3-game home game streak, 3 losses, of course, but I think they're going to get hit in the mouth in this game. I would take Maryland. I think Maryland go up and roll.
All right, Vatek, UNC, Vatek 6.5, 58.5 the total. UNC's in a good spot here. You got Virginia Tech off the big letdown of losing to Notre Dame in that big Saturday night affair last week. I'm not trusting them on the road laying points. Can you get there with North Carolina? They are getting healthier. I think Surratt and they're going back and forth with Chaz Surratt and Nathan Elliott, the two quarterbacks for North Carolina. But I think there's a chance for the Tar Heels maybe to get Virginia Tech. They look vulnerable. They've now suffered a couple of losses, the Old Dominion stunner, and now last week against Notre Dame. That was a big game, too, for Virginia Tech, and they end up losing it. You just wonder where their heads are going to be at going into this game on the road at UNC. I made a case for Carolina, took them plus points and also over the total. I think their offense gets going against a Virginia Tech defense that, let's be honest, it's been a bit of a disappointment for Bud Foster. They've been banged up with injuries on that side of the ball. And Ryan Willis, a little bit of a step back for him last week, but he did play well against a good Duke defense. And I think he'll play well here against a UNC defense that still struggles a little bit. So I like a higher scoring game here. And I took UNC plus points. I think they're a chance to really, really push Va Tech in this football game.
Last 2 years, Ian, they've outscored North Carolina 93-10. They absolutely owned the Tar Heels. And it's another game our friend that Chill liked. He loved this one as well with Duke. I have to agree. I think they get the job done. I think they off the loss will come out and take care of a bad opponent. UNC's not good. They've had strife all year with some of the things they've been doing off the field. I think Larry Fedore's a dead man walking as well. I think he will get fired at some point here. I think the season's lost for UNC. They got to win the other week, but then they foul it up and get shredded. I think Virginia Tech with Willis, who, Ian, how about this? Leaves Kansas to go to Va Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great then again, I would have left pretty much anywhere if I had to leave Kansas.
That's like getting out of purgatory, leaving Kansas football.
Let me ask you, if they told you, listen, you can either stay at Kansas or go play at like a high-end Division II team, what would you do?
Well, if it was Kansas basketball, I'd say, hell yeah, I'll stay at Kansas. If it's Kansas football, no, not a chance. Yeah, exactly.
So you'd play at like North Dakota State over Kansas?
I'd be tempted. In North Dakota State, I'm in the contention for FCS championships every year. What am I in contention for with Kansas other than 2 or 3 wins at most every season? Not a whole lot.
Yes, sure. Yeah, but for the record, I'll go with Va Tech here.
All right, what do we got next? Western Kentucky, Charlotte. Western Kentucky laying 9.5 on the road, 44 the total. I lean Charlotte. I'm not ready to lay this many points with Western. I know they've played a little bit better lately. They definitely have. But this is a different price range here. Charlotte at home has been competitive at times. They were able to beat Old Dominion at home. That's saying something at least positive in their direction. I know the 49ers are not a good football team, but it's just not a price range I trust the Hilltoppers in. So I'll lean a little bit to Charlotte as the home dog there.
Pass.
All right, next up, we've got Houston, East Carolina. Houston, 16 as a road favorite, total 69.5 in this game. Can East Carolina defensively keep this Houston offense in check? Because we know they're starting to get the ball rolling here, Houston, offensively. There's no question about that. They've scored more than 40 points in every game. Last week they beat up on Tulsa 41-26 in that game. Certainly offensively, they're capable. They're still a little bit suspect defensively. Can East Carolina maybe get through the back door with Scotty Montgomery's offense here and do enough to keep them inside this big number? I think the number's in a really, really good spot, but East Carolina has been more competitive. They've covered some numbers lately. I guess I'd lean slightly to them, but I do have concerns with this matchup, but their defense against Houston, the way the Cougars are moving the football right now.
Yeah, I think the goal for Houston has to be to get out to better starts. This team has struggled in the first half. I mean, last week struggled against Tulsa, had some other struggles throughout the season. Defensively, they've not been great. I think that's really the knock on this team. The offense can score points, but like a team that is generally very good and very fast offensively, you struggle on times defensively. East Carolina isn't going to give you a ton of pushback. They're not a great football team. But, Ian, to put it in perspective, Houston is 116th in the country in total defense. I mean, they've given up a lot of points and a lot of yards. Reed Herring, though, the quarterback at East Carolina, I just don't trust him a whole lot. He had a bad game last week against Temple, just couldn't move the ball. I wonder at one point when Houston just kind of, East Carolina, it seems like they went away last week and just hid. Maybe they do it again this week, but I'm not really ready to lay it with Houston. They're kind of on my naughty step right now. I just don't like the way they played in the first halves of games. Gun in my head, I'd take Houston, but I don't think it's a long-term winning proposition. Even last week, they couldn't cover. So maybe these numbers are a bit too high for them.
All right. Yeah, definitely possible. And you're right. Defensively, they've been slow starts. Yep.
If this game was 13.5, I'd be interested. But at 15.5, 16, no.
All right. Akron, Buffalo, 10.5, 11 as home favorites, total 54. Yeah, I'm not betting against Buffalo at any point in time. I think they're one of the best teams in this conference. Akron has been very erratic to me, so it's Buffalo or pass for me. And I passed, but I'd lean Buffalo here.
Yeah, that win against Northwestern seems like a long time ago for Akron. They followed it up with 2 bad performances against Iowa State and Miami of Ohio. Look, I get losing to those teams, but you can't lose 41-17 to the Red Hawks. That's one of the worst offensive teams in the country. You can't give up that many points. Buffalo poised to make a run and kind of control this conference all season. They've been terrific. Yeah, I mean, back at home here,
yep.
This kind of number, yeah, with the way Akron's played lately, not interested. They've turned the ball over 6 times in 2 games. That doesn't bode well here. I like the Bulls in this game to win by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I would only lay with the favorite here with Buffalo, who can clinch bowl eligibility. This would be their 6th win if they win today at home. They'd probably want to get that done. So it's a Buffalo spot for me. Marshall, Old Dominion. We've got Marshall, 3.5-point road favorites, total 57. Now, I know Marshall's had a bunch of quarterback issues, and I thought the replacement would be better. He wasn't really all that great last week in that start he had against Middle Tennessee State. Doc Holliday's got issues there. The defense, which he's relied on for the last couple of years, really hasn't been up to snuff either. They've given up a lot more points and yards so far this season. We'll see if they can contain Blake LaRussa and this Old Dominion offense. But 3.5 on the road to lay with Marshall. I think they're probably the better of these 2 teams, but it's still a little bit rich to me. And Old Dominion, as we've seen already this season, clearly at home, they're a little bit of a tough out there. So I'd lean a little bit to the home dog.
Yeah, I actually had Middle Tennessee last week, and this backup for Marshall is awful. I mean, he cannot throw the ball. He's not cut out to play in Division I. But I think Marshall's a solid group. I think they're a decent team, but can they score in this game with that quarterback? I need to know if Green's playing first. If it's Green or someone else, I'm interested. But if they have that quarterback in, I'm not interested. And I'm not really looking to lay points with Marshall either. This team's 0-3 as a favorite this year. They've only covered 4 of the last 16 as a favorite. Yeah, I'm not looking to lay points with Marshall really ever. They're also without one of their better offensive linemen. He's out for the season. Keon Davis, their top running back, he's been hobbled. Marshall just hasn't been able to run the ball. The only game they were able to run the ball was last week. That was their first game where they ran for over 170 yards. They've had struggles on the ground, and when you can't throw the ball either, that leads to low scores and not particularly good offense. I actually kind of like Old Dominion here. Marshall without a capable quarterback isn't any good.
All right, next up, we've got MTSU, FIU, Conference USA action. FIU laying 2 at home. The total 59.5 in this game. When I first saw this line early in the week, I thought, geez, I think the wrong team's favored here. I think MTSU is better than FIU. Then I started digging into it more, and that's what you always do. You have your leans early in the week, and I started to get off the MTSU bandwagon just a little bit. This is a phenomenal spot for FIU. They're off a bye week. They've covered every number. They've been an undervalued point spread commodity so far this season. They've gotten a decent defensive play, and their offense, believe it or not, with McGow now, not the quarterback anymore, McGow, I think their offense is better than it's been in years past. So it's a very, very good spot for FIU. It's a very tricky spot for MTSU. This is a second straight road game. It was a emotional thriller of a game last week that they played. It's tricky to get right back up and play on the road again a second straight week after that kind of intense game. That being said, I still think MTSU is the better of these 2 teams. That was my lean early in the week. MTSU plus the points. It still is, but I'm not going to get there. It's just an excellent, excellent spot for FIU, and I worry about off a bye, and I worry MTSU's second road game in a row maybe hits a wall a little bit.
Yeah, FIU's actually, I think, a lot better than people might think when you kind of do a look real deep into them and how good they played this year. 38 points a game, which is impressive for them. It's not something we normally see under this group. But here's my issue with Florida International. You know, they put a lot of points up against Arkansas Pine Bluff. I mean, Arkansas Pine Bluff lost 90-6 this season to a Division I AA school. So, I mean, that game I throw totally out. UMass, they put 63 up. I mean, UMass is one of the worst defenses in the country. You know, and then against Old Dominion, Indiana, they were quite pedestrian. Lost to Miami, which is, you know, no surprise. I'm going to go with the better team, and I think it's Middle Tennessee. I think Brett Stockstill is a guy that I think you have to always feel comfortable backing. I just think they're a better team. I'm not buying into FIU. I think you might buy into them by looking at their numbers. Then you look at the schedule and say, well, if you know anything about football, you know a lot of these opponents are not quality. I think Middle Tennessee's a better team. I would go with them here.
Yeah, that was my lean for sure. Kent State, Miami 11-59. I took it over. I think I got a better number, but two bad defenses. Kent State plays fast. I think the offenses get it going. I took the over. No play on the side.
Yeah, I have nothing on this one.
All right, next up, we've got UNLV, Utah State. Utah State 27, total 65.5. This is your hold your nose, big, ugly underdog bet for me today. It's UNLV plus the points. I know they're banged up. They got absolutely just embarrassed, destroyed by New Mexico. If the team has any pride whatsoever under Tony Sanchez, they show it here. I know Utah State's phenomenal, and I had Utah State against BYU last week, an easy win there. They got it done. It's a great offense. They're explosive. But this is UNLV's point spread roll. They've been good in exactly 1 point spread roll, and this is it. Road underdog under Sanchez. I believe 14-4 ATS is a road dog under Tony Sanchez. And Utah State, this is a dubious spot for them just a little bit. You'd had a big win against BYU, in-state rival, and now you play lowly UNLV that's coming off a bad loss last week. I just worry this is a coast, maybe a little bit of a disinterest factor creeps in a little bit for Utah State. And again, all UNLV has to do, don't screw up, don't turn the ball over. I know the backup quarterback did have issues with turnovers last week, but protect the ball. You got a chance maybe to hang inside this lofty number against a potentially disinterested foe. UNLV plus, I've liked UNLV more in previous weeks on this show. I like them a lot more against USC and Arkansas State than now because they're in a different state now. They're struggling. Armani Rogers is injured. They got the backup in instead, but this is a dubious spot for Utah State to be laying all these points in.
Yeah, I don't know if you're Utah State. I just don't see a lot of down spots, especially at home. UNLV are horrendous without Rogers. He was just kind of, you know, if any guiding light was there for them, it was with him. It's not there anymore. He's the commander of the offense, and you saw last week how poor they were. I mean, 43 rush yards in for this team, that's unheard of. I think Utah State is a team that you look at against BYU, they were very stout against the run. I think they bounce back here and continue the hot play. This Utah State team is for real. They've covered all 5 games this year against the number. The 3-0 is a favorite. This is a big number to lay, but I just have no interest in UNLV without Rogers. I think that was evident last week. I know Utah State could put the points on the board. I know they're pretty good on defense as well. Yeah, give me them. I think they run away and hide in this one.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely a leap of faith on my end, backing UNLV. But given the spot, given the role they're in here, I'm going to take a chance. But if they get annihilated, it's not going to be a total shock to me. New Mexico, Colorado State, near Pick'em here in Fort Collins. The total getting hammered down, 68 down to 63. In most places, 5-point move downward. And I think it's in response to the fact that there's concerns weather-wise in Colorado. They got the big snowstorm coming in there. But I really did some extra digging into this game more the last couple days. And this weather is not going to hit Colorado until after 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Well, take a look at when this game starts, New Mexico, Colorado State. It's 2 p.m. Mountain Time. You know, the weather's not even going to be arriving until after this football game ends. And I'm convinced if people are betting this game under the total, it's got to be because of the weather. It can't be because they like these two defenses. It can't be because they're not impressed with these two teams' ability offensively. It's got to be the weather. But the weather doesn't look like it's going to move in there till after the game ends. So I don't think weather's going to be that big factor that people think it's going to be here in Fort Collins for this football game. I'm going to buck that totals move. I think it's gone too low now. Yeah, and I'm going to look over the total. You look at New Mexico 5-0 to the over this season. They've cashed overs in every single game. They've put up points. There's been no drop off with Sherrion Jones at the quarterback spot for Tua Vioka, his name is, I believe, who's got injured for them. He's played good, and New Mexico is going to move this ball because Colorado State defense can't stop anybody. Proof was last week. They gave up 28 points to a sad San Jose State team. That's how bad the Colorado State defense has been. But Colorado State used their bye week prior to last week to work on their offense. Mike Bobo said, we got to get this offense going. KJ Carter-Samuels, and they finally did last week. Maybe their best offensive showing of the season, 42 points. They got the ground game going. New Mexico's no great shakes defensively. I understand the totals move at 68. Maybe you thought it was a bit high, but I think there's a lot of value now at a much lower number of 63. Two bad defenses that will see points in this game, and weather doesn't appear to be a factor.
Yeah, it's good handicapping by you. It's very important when you think you're going to see a weather event, you make sure you look and see when it is and if it's even going to affect the game. And good call by you. It doesn't look like it's going to affect the game. Yeah, I don't have any issues with this play. I think you're dead on the money here. Colorado State has been a nice over team all season. I last week had a real wonder why the total was only 62 in that San Jose game. It ended up going down to 60, and they scored into the 70s in that one. I agree with you here. I mean, New Mexico has been a bad defensive team all year, but I think you're right. Under the new quarterback, they haven't really missed much of a beat. Tuoti's out, so you won't see him again this year. But I think this quarterback has been able to move the ball. These numbers, I think, are just a bit too low in this conference. They've been going over with ease. And New Mexico's went over in all the games this year they played. So I think that's obviously some good news. Yeah, I like this as well. I think that the only worry would be the weather, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a problem here.
Yeah, it'll be a problem tonight, but not from what I've seen at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, which is
and generally, this is kind of random, but if whenever you have a big snowstorm, and generally beforehand, it's always very nice. It's some of the best weather you're going to ever have. And it looks like that's going to be the case here. Looks like sunny and light wind. Should be great. So I think the football game will be fun here.
All right, Troy and Liberty. Next up, 9.5-10, Troy on the road, 63 the total. Ever since they lost that beatdown game against Boise in their first game, Troy, they've been a monster ever since then. They've been very, very impressive. But Liberty's that team with that quick strike offense that's always got backdoor potential. So this is a tricky game. I don't want to step in front of Troy, but Liberty's got backdoor cover written all over it. So I'm going to pass on this game, lean over the total.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, Troy playing without their quarterback, Caleb Barker, he's out for the foreseeable future with an injury. So, they're going to have to go to another quarterback clearly here. And, you look at it in the last game. They were able to finish. They beat Georgia State. This Sawyer Smith kid came in and played, pretty well. He did have an interception. But I always worry about quarterbacks in that second game. Now it's their team. How do they deal? And that's just kind of kept me off this over. With Liberty, you got to be able to score. And look, Troy is still laying almost 10 points. I don't understand this number at all. This is a game that kind of has raising my eyebrows a little bit. Why is Troy almost a double-digit favorite here? The quarterback's out. Liberty's at home. Liberty has shown this year that they can hang in games. I think that's one of the reasons this number's come down. I think it's a pretty bad number, frankly. And with the way Liberty has kind of shown this year that they can score points, I don't see 10 points difference between these two current teams.
All right, and it's important to note, too, that Colorado weather we talked about, that's likely to affect the Ram-Bronco NFL game on Sunday, too. So just make sure you're aware of that. Pittsburgh, Notre Dame.
I've already said, Ian, I like the Broncos. So get that play in now. Weather could be a problem.
It definitely could. Pitt, Notre Dame 21.5, 55 total. This is not a spot I'm laying 3 touchdowns with Notre Dame in. They're off a big win against Virginia Tech. They have played well. They're, I believe, 3-0 straight up and against the spread, 3-0 to the over since Ian Book's been the quarterback. He's been great for them. But this is not the kind of point spread price range that you trust. I trust Notre Dame in. Remember, they're big double-digit favorites against Ball State, sneak out with a win. Big double-digit favorites at home against Vanderbilt, barely sneak out with a win. This has flat spot written all over it. I took Pitt plus 21.5. They're not good defensively at all still, and they lost maybe their best defensive player, their captain, after last week's game against Syracuse. but they still have an offense. They have Kadri Ollison, a good ground game. Pickett's okay at quarterback. Can do enough, I think, maybe to slide inside this big number. I don't think you get Notre Dame's A game here. I lean Pitt, and also the over makes some sense because Pitt's defense not good, and I think Pitt will do some damage offensively. So Pitt and the over for me here.
When it was 20.5, I had some interest. At 21.5, I don't. I like 20.5 because I'm under that 3 touchdown number. I think the over makes sense here, though. Book has been terrific on offense. You mentioned the defensive player out that could hurt the defensive side a little bit. Pitt, if anything, they can move the ball. I don't trust them on defense ever under Narduzzi. 54.5 seems a bit too low.
All right, Colorado, USC, great Pac-12 South matchup. Colorado now trying to make a big statement. They can win this division. USC -7, 57 the total. USC off a bye. What I've read in practice from USC is their offense looks like it's ready to go. I mean, the practice reports are that the offense looked incredible. JT Daniels looked much fresher, much healthier, was just lasering the football to his receivers down the field. The offensive line looked a lot better in practice. Can they put it on the field is the question. But USC's offense before the bye was starting to get going. They shredded Washington State at home. They put up big points. Remember their other home game against UNLV. And against Arizona, before the bye, they only scored 24, but they piled up nearly 500 yards. They turned the ball over 3 times. That should have been 35 to 40 points for USC in that game against Arizona. But turnovers kept that scoring output down. But that offense still moved the ball. It's coming around. But potential massive impact injury defensively for USC going into this game. Cameron Smith. This guy is a terror on the defensive side. I think he has doubled the amount of tackles as any other team on this any other player on this USC defense. He may not play. He had suffered a hamstring injury in practice this week. He is 50-50 at best, according to Clay Helton, to play in this game. That's a huge detrimental loss, especially if he doesn't play. And even if he is just 50% health-wise, it's not good. Facing Colorado's offense, Montez, 75% completion rate? We know Chanot at receiver has been just incredible. One of the best receivers in the country for Colorado. This offense is humming. This up-tempo attack under Darren Shiverini, the offensive coordinator, Mike McIntyre, the head coach. They've been a very good offensive team. I think there's value in the over in this game at 57. If Smith is even not 100% or worse, doesn't go, that is a leader. That is the best defensive player on this USC defense, not in there, and Colorado can take advantage. I lean Colorado +7 too. I think it's a good USC spot, but I'm not ready to trust USC even off a bye laying a full touchdown in this game just yet.
Let me say that again, Ian. What's Montez's completion percentage?
It's in the 75% range, right? Something like that, close to it.
Do you know how good that is as far as on the level in the country?
It's number 1. Isn't it, Tops?
Number 1.
Yes, that's what I thought.
With Tagovailoa, he's number 1. He's tied. This kid is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. We need to start giving him respect. I've come around on him. You should too. Listen, USC's a fine program. Great. But I don't think they're as good as obviously past teams. They just a down year for them. The fact that they're playing well in practice, that's great. I mean, cool. I mean, that's great. I don't have much. Everyone plays well in practice to me, so I don't put a lot of stock into that. I also think this is a different kind of offense that they've generally seen. They didn't do well against that air raid offense they played. Colorado a little bit more balanced. They run the ball a little bit more. I think USC secondary is a concern. They have some injuries in that secondary. You mentioned also Cameron Smith. I'm just not ready to lay 7 points in this kind of game. I have the number at 3.5. At 7, there's massive value in Colorado. They're a great fourth quarter team as well, allowing a total of 3 points, Ian, and they've held those opponents scoreless in the final 50 minutes. So they've done a nice job at closing games out and not allowing teams back into the game. I just like Colorado. I think they're a very solid team. I think they see that what is in front of them here. And you mentioned the bowl game thing. For a team like Colorado, for a team that doesn't always get there, it'd be nice to go down to Southern Cal and get the job done and then say to ourselves, why can't we go win this conference now? This is a very real Colorado team. And this is a team in USC that I think is just average. I don't have much love for this team. I think I think they're down this year.
All right, Army San Jose State. Army 16.5, 17, total 49.5. Not a big bandwagon, obviously, on the San Jose State team. I bet against them last week. I'm not sure I love laying this many points with Army. The over's kind of got some value now. It's gone down from 54 to 49.5, maybe lean in that direction. But other than that, not a whole lot on this game for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where I feel like, San Jose has kind of hung in some games lately. They were able to last week, I guess, and had a lead at one point, but they just have trouble finishing games out. This game, they don't even really need to finish out; they just need to hang. But you look at the losses that they've had. Only one has been by 20 points or more. They don't get killed generally, which is a surprise. But this is a different game, and I'll tell you why, Ian. You look at the last few games they played. They've been very good against the run, but those teams don't really run the ball. So they haven't really faced a unit like this. They're basically going to have to say, Army's just basically going to say, listen, we're going to run the ball every play. Stop it. San Jose doesn't face a whole lot of triple option teams. I guess they face New Mexico maybe, but I don't think they have a lot of success in this game. When that offense gets going, it's hard to stop, and you just don't have very many possessions. When you see a team like Army go and play a team like San Jose, it's generally a team that I'm going to bet on. I just don't think San Jose is real familiar with watching this offense, and they're not going to have the ball very much in this game.
All right, Washington, Oregon, Pac-12, one of the better games of the day. Washington, 3.5, 4 showing up with Washington as a road favorite, 58.5. Look, I'm going to take Oregon here. I don't love them as much as I love them against Stanford because I was really disheartened with the way they pissed that game away and blew it and couldn't finish. That could be an issue for them here. We know Chris Peterson is a detail-oriented coach that's probably going to have his team's attention after a lackluster game against UCLA last week, but I still think this Oregon offense is capable of denting even a very good Washington defense with Justin Herbert. He's played that well at the quarterback spot. Don't forget, they shredded a pretty good Cal defense in a few weeks ago. I'm not saying Cal's defense is quite on the level of Washington's, but that's still impressive to me for Oregon to move the ball against Cal the way they did. Washington, I'm going to have to see Jake Browning go out there, play a big-time game on the road before I'm convinced they're not a team I trust to win by margin on the road. And now that loss against Auburn in week 1, which everybody says no shame in that. Auburn's looked very, very mediocre and pedestrian the last few weeks. It's making that Washington loss to them look even worse now. I know they went in there and took care of a good Utah team. That's probably the best thing that Washington's done this season. But against Oregon, if Oregon can just close the deal better than they did against Stanford, not turn the ball over in a tough spot like they did against Stanford, which totally changed the momentum of that game, then I think they're a live team. I would take Oregon here plus the 4.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not impressed with Washington. I think this is a game for Oregon where they can kind of right the wrong. I mean, you lost to Stanford. We get it. But now you can come back. You beat Cal. Now you can come back off a bye and take care of business. They've had some time to prepare. They're at home here. I think Justin Herbert presents a matchup concern for them. Washington's good on defense, but look, be good against this kind of kid. I mean, this is the best quarterback you're going to face by a wide margin. I think Oregon rights the wrongs today and gets a big win. I think they are going to beat Washington. I'm telling you, Oregon's a team that very well should be undefeated. I mean, it's such a shame they lost that Stanford game because I think we could be talking about them as a playoff contender because of that win and then going into this game with a huge opportunity. Cristobal, I think, though, has changed the dynamic there, Ian, and I think that was no more evident than the game against Cal. Let me ask you, Ian, if you lost like they did against Stanford and Mark Helfrich was the coach, what do you think would have happened when they went to Cal?
They probably would have got buried, down in the dumps, woe was us. Yep,
tail between our legs. We're going to just fade and lose. But no, they didn't. And that's coaching. That's why coaching is so important in college sports. I think they win today. I think they beat Washington.
Well, that's what they got. One thing you'll get with Cristobal, you can disagree about how good of an X's and O's guy he is, how preparation-wise, but he's a motivator. He gets through to the kids. He's got some pizzazz about him, a little life, a little spontaneity, a little charisma, and that gets through to the kids, especially at that age. And you're right, they were able to rally the troops. I was impressed. I thought that was a bet against spot for Oregon against Cal, and boy, they came out and took care of business. Very impressed. And we'll see if Oregon can get their big signature moment here today. Sean McDonough is calling this game. He's sometimes has voice cracks when he gets excited. He might have one of those today. Look out. I'd love to hear one of those. They're hilarious. There's actually
he could be pretty annoying. His brother just got fired, by the way, at the Suns. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh boy, that's not good for
Brother
the
works for the Suns. He got fired.
yeah, the McDonough clan. A little bit of sad news there. Ohio, Northern Illinois next up. Northern Illinois laying 6 at home. The total 52 and a half. Looks like Nathan Rourke's maybe not going to play because Northern Illinois is taking money. Last I looked, he was highly questionable. We see Ohio, not the same team without him. He's a big part of this Bobcats team. It's going to be tough sledding. Northern Illinois doesn't have a great offense, but boy, they've played some defense this year. Not a game I'm involved in, but yeah, people reacting to the Ohio quarterback issues.
Yeah, and then for a team that can't stop anybody, I mean, that's never good news when Ohio's quarterback's out. This is kind of a clash of styles game here, Ian. Northern Illinois shouldn't find a ton of trouble in moving the ball, though. I'm seeing Rourke probable. Are you seeing him out?
Last I checked was questionable. If he's probable, okay. So people just responding to the fact that maybe Northern Illinois is the superior defensive team and the better spot at home.
Yeah, I mean, Northern Illinois is very good on defense. Ohio is not just bad; they're terrible on all defense. I mean, to put it in perspective, there are 129 teams in college football. Ohio's 124th in total defense. I mean, they're giving up 509 yards a game, so they're not a team I want to bet on. And they have a long injury list right now; a lot of players out. I would just probably go with the better team defensively at home, but not a game I'm interested in.
All right, we got about 4 or 5 12 p.m. Eastern games. It's 10 minutes away. We're going to go through those and then get back to the rest of them. We're going to go Minnesota, Ohio State. That's a noon Eastern game. Ohio State 29.5, 30, total 61.5. Pass. I got nothing. I don't want either side. You got anything, big man, on this?
Yeah, I mean, La Tech is pretty good. I mean, they're pretty terrific as far as against a team like this. I actually took UAB last week as an underdog. I didn't understand the line in that game. I kind of understand this one. Jamar Smith is a guy that I think should be able to handle this Roadrunner team, but yeah, I mean, just not a real electric game for me. I actually don't like this one or the next one either. The MAC, I just don't have much on this week.
Yeah, I agree. I'm passing both of those games. La Tech, UTSA, Western Michigan, Bowling Green. Let's do Minnesota, Ohio State, big man, noon Eastern time. We're going to do the noon Eastern games now because they're going to kick off soon. I got nothing on Minnesota, Ohio State. It's too many points to lay, but I'm not going to trust Minnesota in the shoe. You think Golden Gophers can hang, big man?
No, I don't.
No, that's
tough. All I need to say. No.
All right, Nebraska, Northwestern, another noon Eastern game. Northwestern, 3.5, 58 the total. I know, guess what? The underdog is covered in every Northwestern game this season. Perfect record, ATS for underdogs in Northwestern games. Maybe that's why Nebraska's taken all this money, but at 3.5 now, I can't endorse Nebraska. It's Northwestern or nothing for me at this point. They can't run the ball, but they can throw it, and Nebraska can't stop the pass. Nebraska's defense still not good. Their offense is still a work in progress. I think now at this number, I'd lean Northwestern also over the total. You got any take on Huskers, Wildcats?
Listen, when this line came out, Ian, it was 9. Okay, they put this number at 9, which, look, I guess we can say it was a bad number. I'd probably put it like 7, but it was at 9. It's been bet all the way down to 3. Now it's at 3.5. Odd move. I can't understand why. I don't understand why the move has been made. Nothing is really been. I mean, I have a weird feeling, Ian, and I'm going to make this very obvious. I have a weird feeling Clayton Dorson will be pulled in this game. I don't know why. Like maybe right before the game he'll be downgraded or something. You don't see moves like this. Like when you see a move, like a 6-point move with no real reason why, somebody knows something. It wouldn't surprise me if someone's out, like big, like Thorson or someone like that. This is very odd, and for that reason, I'm staying completely far away from this one.
Yeah, like I say, at the reduced line now, I'm looking Northwestern and over. I put those in pocket. I think it's a value situation right now with Northwestern. Tennessee, Auburn. No, Iowa, Indiana first. Another noon Eastern. Iowa, Indiana. Iowa 4 on the road, total 52. I think Iowa's flat out better than Indiana, but I get the heebie-jeebies laying more than a field goal with Iowa on the road. Not something I do, so it's a pass for me in this game.
Yeah, Indiana's 4-2, surprisingly. I don't know if anyone saw that coming, but yeah, and they beat some decent teams. Beat Virginia, beat FIU. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any interest in Iowa, particularly on the road. Pass.
All right, next up, we've got in terms of noon games, we're going through the 12 Eastern games. Tennessee, Auburn. Tennessee taking money, 18 down to 15, 47.5 the total. Look, I know Auburn's not looked right, and that was a bad loss last week against Mississippi State. They were lethargic against Southern Miss. They were lethargic against Arkansas. This has been a downward trending Auburn team in a hurry. But I'm not ready to think Tennessee's offense is going to move the ball up and down against this Auburn team. I can understand the sentiment. Auburn, I certainly don't trust as a big favorite. I faded them with Southern Miss when they were a big favorite, but I don't know if Tennessee can move the ball, to be honest. This is a much big step down in class for Auburn's defense facing this Tennessee limited offense. I don't trust Auburn laying the points, but I don't want Tennessee. It's a pass.
Yeah, I kind of like under. I think this is kind of an ugly game. Tennessee, if you know anything, they can play pretty decent defense. Auburn has been downtrending a bit. I think they make it very difficult for Tennessee. I kind of lean under in this one. Robert Martin, we know Adrian Martinez has played for weeks. Robert, I don't know what you're kind of trying to say that we don't know that or something. We know that he's playing. He's been in there for weeks.
Yeah, it was only 1 week he missed. That was the Troy game, and that was a long, long, long time ago. Yeah, Florida, Vanderbilt. Florida, -9, 9.5, 10 on the road. They're taking money, total 51. Not a great Florida spot, and people were betting Vanderbilt because it is a better spot for Vanderbilt, but are we going to trust their offense to move against Florida's defense? That's the concern. I mean, I thought Kyle Shermer would play better than he has. He really hasn't at times this season. It's a good spot for Vandy. I think there's some value on them now, but Florida's been a confounding team to me, so I'm going to lean Vanderbilt, but I won't get involved in it.
Yeah, I like Vandy myself here, especially at this number. They're always a pretty solid team. Kyle Shermer is a great quarterback. I mean, he'll never get any love or respect, but he's actually a pretty good quarterback. He's done some real good things at Vanderbilt in his career. Has good bloodlines as well. I endorse Vandy here. I think they're a pretty good defensive team. Florida maybe a little hot to trot after that LSU win on the road, maybe a little down spot. I like the Commodores.
All right, in the last noon Eastern game, and then we'll go back and do the rest of the card. Oklahoma State, Kansas State in the Big 12. Oklahoma State laying 8, 61.5, 62 the total. I'm going to lay it with Okie State here. I know they've been erratic, but they're off a bad performance against Iowa State. They have responded off bad games so far this season. And K-State's K-State. I mean, that's a limited offense. Bill Snyder as an underdog worked last year. Bill Snyder as an underdog worked 2 years ago. It's not working in 2018. You've been crushed betting Kansas State as an underdog in virtually every game this season. Good spot for Oklahoma State. They're still a superior team. It's a step down in class. I laid a little with the Okie State Cowboys here.
Yeah, pass for me on this one. I got to tell you, though, these spots, if this game is at 3:30, I would take K-State. Kind of reminds me of that Texas game. K-State at home, I think, are worth shots because I think that's a weird place to go, and it's generally a good crowd, and they just seem to play well as a dog. But at 12 o'clock, frankly, I'm not interested.
All right, we've got Ole Miss, Arkansas. Arkansas, as we go back up, 6.5. Road favorite, Ole Miss, total 65.5. Arkansas, I've made note about this a ton. I mean, it's a big scheme change, schematic change from the Brett Bielema run-heavy offense, power football offense, to the up-tempo spread attack of Chad Morris, recruits that are here that aren't fit to run that offense. Injuries like crazy on both sides of the ball, bad quarterback play at times, but Arkansas's hanging in there. They're trying to scrap. They're trying to be competitive. Game effort, outmanned as all get out against Alabama last week, and they still put up some kind of a decent fight. They didn't roll over. They didn't play dead. The effort's still there, and you got to give Chad Morris credit for that. And Ole Miss is the better team, but laying these points on the road is not something I'm ready to do. I'm leaning Ole Miss, but doesn't smell right.
Yeah, I kind of like Arkansas. You know, we Ian on our radio show, we had 2 calls yesterday that asked about Arkansas, and both made valid points for the Razorbacks, and I don't disagree. I think this team is slowly kind of showing some promise. They've actually played pretty well lately. They're not winning games, which obviously is going to hurt, but Chad Morris, I think, is building something there. Brakeem Boyd has played very well for them at running back. They have a quarterback that's done some nice things. I'd love to get a full 7 here. That would probably be my goal. But Mississippi are just an odd team. They're not good on defense. This actually could be a pretty high-scoring game, I think. I'd maybe lean over the number. But Arkansas at home. By the way, this is not at home. This is at Little Rock. Someone made us aware of that yesterday also. It's a game in Little Rock. It's not at their home stadium. So Arkansas should be showing out tonight for the Razorbacks, which there are a lot of fans of this group. People love Pig Suey. I got a feeling they hang around in this game.
All right, Arkansas making a case, big man, for the home, Little Rock underdog here in the Razorbacks. We've got Wisconsin, Michigan, one of the big games on today's slate for sure. Michigan laying 10, total 48 in this game. I think it's too high now. I understand Wisconsin's got a ton of injury concerns going into this game. It's a little concerning how much they've got to deal with. They're banged up already in the secondary. That's definitely a concern. Cornerback Cesar Williams, didn't play last week. They got a freshman replacing him. They've got another guy out in that secondary. The linebacking core is dealing with some injuries as well. So they got some cluster injuries on defense. Michigan could take advantage of it. I think that's the response in this number being moved up. But Michigan laying 10, laying big points against anybody, especially against at least a decent team, which Wisconsin is, concerns me. I think now at 10, I'm getting a little more interested in Wisconsin here.
Yeah, but it's hard to bet against Michigan at home. They played so well, haven't they? I don't know. I think Michigan has a new lease on life after that Notre Dame loss. It actually looks better and better by the day. I wonder about Wisconsin. I think they're gonna have a lot of trouble. Michigan's defense is probably the best in the country. They've been unbelievable.
Yep.
I think the number's telling you something here. I think this is a game for Michigan that lets them get back into the national picture. And people say, whoa, that was a big win for them. That was a blowout win for them at home. Wisconsin, I just don't see it with them this year.
Yeah, and you're right. Michigan's definitely, there's a class difference in terms of the two divisions in the Big Ten. Michigan's in a much superior division. Wisconsin, we'll see how they handle it here in this game. But, it's still a team that's inexplicably lost to BYU at home. We'll see how they fare here at Michigan. Shea Patterson starting to come around for this Michigan team at the quarterback position. Again, as long as Harbaugh stays out of his way, doesn't restrain him, he can be a good quarterback for this football team. There's no question there. Temple and Navy. Temple laying 6.5, 7 on the road here, and the total 49. I grabbed Navy +7. This is that bounce back spot with a good Navy disciplined, military school. Ken Niumatalolo, after a tough game against Air Force, I think tries to rally the troops. They've had troubles against Temple. That's my big issue and concern going into this game. But this home field's never an easy one to win at. When you're trying to beat this midshipman group. I know they're banged up at the quarterback position. That's a concern. Defensively, they're not very good, but this is now a big-time response to that Air Force game. And Temple's hot right now. Temple's a little bit of a hot, underrated commodity. That's why Temple's the betting choice in this game, and people have been betting the Owls all week. But at 7, don't love it, but I had to grab Navy +7. I think they hang and battled in this football game.
You got to hope. They're back home. They've had a tough season. This is obviously why Ken Niumatalolo gets paid to coach there. You got to be able to rally. I think you can rally these kids. They're generally very they don't really need that. They're always going to give you 110%. Temple are very hard to understand. Sometimes they look great. Sometimes they look terrible. But this is a road game. This is a game where you're going to have a team with some pride, you would think. I actually agree with you on that.
All right, next up, we've got West Virginia, Iowa State, Big 12 battle. How about the number? I was hoping for 7, and I was actually going to really make this one of my top plays if I had 7 on Iowa State, but unfortunately not going to get it. And now there's been a lot of big rush to Iowa State, down to 4.5, 5 in this game. Total 56.5, 57. Iowa State's been phenomenal as an underdog. I'm sick of saying it, but they showed it again last week against Oklahoma State. Matt Campbell's been a tremendous point spread team. Iowa State plus the points. Not as good of a number now, but that's the way I'd play. West Virginia's got to prove it to me. They're on the road, tough environment in Ames. Defense is still spotty. Will Greer's starting to make some mistakes and interceptions too lately. That's a concern, even though he's a good quarterback. I think Iowa State, very live in this football game. I look to them plus the points.
I agree, 100%. I think Iowa State's a team that at home, this number's tough, though. You got a number down to 4 in this game. Yeah, I'm good. Pass. At 6.5, 7, I'm interested. Now the 4, it's just become too trendy of a dog. I'm out of this fight now.
All right, Southern Miss, North Texas. Here's a trendy. Well, it's a dog that's getting money, and I agree. I took Southern Miss plus 9.5. They're down to 7, 7.5. This is a competitive team. Abraham, the quarterbacks, move the ball. North Texas starting to come back down to earth a little bit. Some spotty performances from them of lately. They were a juggernaut early on. Not quite as much from a point spread perspective the last few weeks, although I like Luttrell and I like Mason Fine, the quarterback. I think Southern Miss, a little bit of a value shot there.
Yes. Yeah.
Up UCF Memphis over. We're going to run through these games quickly. Big man's got to run in a few minutes. So UCF Memphis over the total for me or pass, but I'm not going to bet the side. Actually, lean UCF. I think UCF's still going to have enough to get this done.
Yeah, as far as UCF here, I mean, Memphis, we talked about this game on the roundtable. I think they win by double digits, frankly. I don't think Memphis are particularly a great team. I worry about them in this game. They struggled in this game in the regular season last year. UCF, I think, is on a mission here. Total's at 80. You never see that in college football. For the principal, I got to lean under. I think for some reason this game's in the 60s. 80 is very high. It's hard to eclipse that number. 41-34 is a loser. Think about that.
Yeah, Baylor, Texas, Texas 14, 59 the total. I cashed my Texas winner last week. Great to see them beat Oklahoma, but I'm not on them this week. You know what me? I don't want Texas as a favorite. I want them in pick'em ranges or as an underdog. This could be a little bit of a letdown after Oklahoma, but I don't trust Baylor, so I'm not involved.
Yeah, I think this is a tough spot for Texas. This is not the line profile of any interest in laying in with Texas. I think Baylor, they're a team that I've been pretty high on. They're a team that I think can get back to a bowl game, if you can believe it. They're 2 games away from that. I don't think they're going to win this game, but I think they could hang out and hang around. I like Texas as a dog. I don't want them laying 2 touchdowns. I have zero interest with the talent that they have, Baylor, on offense. I think they're more than capable to hang in the game. I'll take the points with the Bears.
All right, Missouri, Alabama, SEC. Here's that freight train again, known as the Crimson Tide. Alabama laying 4 touchdowns at home, total 75. I'm not involved in this game, although first half is where I'd go in this game. I'd lean Bama first half over. Those have been really good bets all season long. First half, Alabama, first half over in this game makes some sense to me. And one thing Missouri will do is they'll throw the ball. They won't be scared to do that with Drew Lock. And the secondary is the little bit of a suspect area, if there is one, on this Alabama defense. So first half over, I really like in this game.
Yeah, I kind of lean over for the game. The only thing that's kept me off it is, will Alabama come out with a little bit more concerted effort on defense? They haven't been good the last few weeks. Nick Saban called them out. Drew Lock does struggle against better teams generally. I don't know. I for some reason this game, I think Alabama, I got a weird feeling they play a little bit more down, not down, but I think at some point they're not going to just win every game 65-10. I think at some point a team hits them in the mouth and maybe is game for a quarter or two. Why can't it be Missouri? I'll take a shot with the 28 here.
UAB Rice, UAB 17-52 the total. Lean UAB, lean over, but there could be some weather issues there. And UAB defense is really, really underrated. They're really playing good on that side of the ball, but just leans to UAB in the over.
Yeah, UAB is a good team, man. They're very good on defense, very good. Bill Clark's a great coach. I like Erdley, the quarterback, though. Erdley last week was terrible. Erdley, Ian, was like 8 for 24. I think he didn't complete his first 10 passes, and they still were able to roll La Tech. Yeah, Rice is just dreadful. Though, can they get to the 20s here? I don't think. I would lean UAB.
Georgia, LSU. We've got Georgia laying 7 on the road, 49.5 the total. One of the other big games today. Look, LSU plus these many points, I don't want to bet against them. But the win against Auburn, not quite looking as good now. They got outclassed a little bit late in the game against Florida to lose that one. I got to see that they can beat Georgia before I bet them. So I lean LSU, but not going to get there.
Yeah, I'm leaning Georgia here. I think they bludgeon LSU. I'm sick of hearing about Joe Burrow. I think last week it was evident on what LSU is. They're a fraud. They're not well led either. Georgia gets the job done, and I think they run away and win by double digits. Georgia's very real. LSU's very fake. Ian, I do have to jump off. I want to let you finish it up here.
Okay,
I got to get somewhere here.
No problem. Ian, give me your best bet. One best bet. What do you got?
I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Liberty. I don't understand this number. I think it's kind of lost. I think with Barker out, I would think it's more like 4.5 or 5. On the road, you're giving me 9.5 points. I'll take Liberty here plus the points against Troy.
All right, there we go. Liberty, the Flames to get it done, plus the points against Troy. That's going to do it for Big Man. Great to have you on the show as always with me, Big Man. Enjoy the Saturday and good luck this weekend, my friend.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. I got to run out real quick, and I actually have to do a show in like an hour here on the channel, so I got to try to fit something in here. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Always fun. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, take care, buddy. Thanks. All right, great to be with you as always. All right, we'll finish up the rest of the card, just you and I. You guys watching. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. It's a beast of a card. We're not doing this, by the way, for any college basketball shows we may be doing on Saturday down the road. There's just a few too many teams and games to do this for college basketball every week. But yeah, I mean, always fun going down the games. We've got 6 games left. New Mexico State, UL Lafayette. UL Lafayette laying 7, total 67 in this game. I bet this one over the total. I cashed a winner with UL Lafayette over the total last week against Texas State. It's a bad defense. It's a team that can run the ball very well, and it's a New Mexico State defense that hasn't given any resistance. One issue would be for me that New Mexico State's offense has struggled this year, but I think against a bottom-tier defense, the likes of Lafayette's that New Mexico State can get the ball going a little bit offensively and put some points on the board. Over the total is the way I'd go in that game. Michigan State, Penn State. Penn State laying 13 at home, the total 53, pretty much across the board. I laid it with Penn State. I mentioned this on the Pre-Snap Read show on Wednesday that I do with Pete Loshak, Joe Gavazzi, and Big Al McMorty. I like Penn State. And I've been down on Penn State at times this year, but I think Michigan State, and I know Mark D'Antonio is an underdog, is usually a decent bet, but that's a banged-up football team offensively. L.J. Scott's been out for weeks. The offensive line has had a different starting O-line every week, different combinations. That's not good news. I've not been impressed with Brian Lewerke at the quarterback spot for Michigan State. He's been way too erratic, made bad decisions. I don't like the fact that they didn't play well last week against Northwestern. I'm looking at Penn State maybe to just absolutely bludgeon Michigan State in this game. It would concern me if there was no game between the Ohio State loss and this one, but the bye week I think gives Penn State to maybe hit the reset button. It's a tough loss. They didn't like seeing it happen, but there's still goals that you can accomplish. You can still contend here in the Big Ten. You can still have an outside, doubtful at the playoff, but outside chance. You can still have a lot of good things happen if you finish the season strong. I think, and James Franklin's plea after the game, we will get Penn State back to the elite level. I think they have a chance to roll in this game off the bye week against a Michigan State team that's really had trouble impressing me so far. So I laid the 13 with Penn State there. Mountain West action, Hawaii, BYU laying 10.5, 11 at home, 57-58 the total. If you follow me on Twitter at Bobano, almost every day I've posted MLB Play of the Day videos, and I've also had weekly NFL and college football Play of the Day videos, and my college football Play of the Day video for this week was this game. I like Hawaii plus the points. I bet against BYU last week with Utah State. I'm going to take my chances with Hawaii, especially now that Cole McDonald threw a pass. E-I-E-I-O. When he threw that pass, he threw a touchdown. E-I-E-I-O. Now that Cole McDonald is back at the quarterback spot here for Hawaii. Cole McDonald is a quarterback that has impressed me all season long. Incredible thrower of the football. He's made plays, outside of the pocket. And I think he's going to test this BYU defense. Like, BYU faced an explosive offense with weapons and good quarterback play when they faced Utah State last week and Jordan Love. They didn't fare well. They got absolutely shredded on the defensive side of the football. So I am looking at this as a game where Hawaii can hang. You don't always love trusting Hawaii when they go off the island. But, they hung tough against Army, and this team hasn't been blown out. They haven't lost by more than a single score all season. I'm looking at a situation here for me, Hawaii plus the points. This total's gotten hammered up, I think, because of the Cole McDonald news, 51-58. I'd be a little careful with that, but I like the Hawaii side in this game. BYU's got issues. Kalani Sitake's taking heat. I'm hearing there's people questioning his the offensive play calling with this BYU team. Defensively, they've taken a step back. There's not a lot to like in an 11-point favorite here in this game. Hawaii, underrated, I think, most of the season, and might be again here. So give me the Warriors as a double-digit underdog in that game. UCLA, California, Pac-12. Cal -7, total 54. I like Cal here, laying the 7. Cheap number. They've taken some lumps. They had no business losing that game against Arizona, but they turned the football over. Their quarterback play has bothered me, but their defense could overwhelm UCLA going on the road. UCLA's offense has struggled. I think Cal's defense, they faced some good offenses lately. I think including Oregon. I think this is going to be a step down for their D. I laid the 7 here with Cal. Good get well spot, I think, for them against a UCLA team that, fought hard, tooth and nail against Washington last week at home, came up short. Do be a spot for them. Good spot for Cal. I think their defense could overwhelm UCLA's still work in progress offense. So I laid the touchdown with Cal at home. Wyoming, Fresno. Fresno -18, 44 the total. I'm not betting against Fresno. Fresno has been a underrated point spread juggernaut ever since Jeff Tedford got there. I believe they've covered something like 16-4 ATS since Jeff Tedford got there as head coach. I mean, you've just been cashing tickets left and right, backing Fresno. The number is getting up there, though, now. There's no more bargains with Fresno. It's just a concern now if you're stepping in and late to the party backing this team, but there's a lot to like. Their defense is good. McMarion at the quarterback is capable, and Wyoming, their offense has been dreadful. Tyler Vanderwall, the head coach, or not the head coach, Tyler Vanderwall, the freshman quarterback of this team, he struggled. They still run an old prehistoric, extinct offense, pro-style offense in the college game, which you just don't see very often, and it's really not working. It's not an explosive offense. Their offensive lines struggle to protect and open up holes for the ground game. I really have concerns about how many points Wyoming is going to score in this game against this Fresno State defense on the road. I would definitely only back the favorite here. But again, you're not, and they've been a great point spread team, but you're not getting the bargains now with Fresno State that you did once upon a time. All right, last game on this slate. We've gotten to the end of the card. Boise State, Nevada. We've got Boise State 16.5, 17-point road favorite in Reno. Total 59.5 in this game. I definitely am interested in the over in this game with Ty Ganji expected to return at the quarterback spot for Nevada. But I'm looking at a situation here where there's talk that he's still not totally sure if he's going to play, and if he does, he may not be 100%, and that's a concern. Boise State still does have a very good defense, although they did lose a couple of key members of that defense last week to injury. Brian Harsin was mentioning that earlier this week in media availability, saying we got a couple of big losses on our defense, and it's going to be hard. I mean, 2 key defensive players, David Moa, who had just came back from a big injury on the D-line, defensive tackle, he's done for the season. And so is their safety, DeAndre Pierce, in that secondary for Boise State. And now you're going to go to a redshirt freshman and to replace Pierce in that secondary, which could be an issue if Ty Ganji and that very good Nevada passing attack, if Ganji plays in that Nevada passing attack, maybe can take advantage of that. But Nevada's defense still is not a group I trust. They're facing still a good quarterback here, Brett Rippon, for the Boise State Broncos. They should be able to move the ball. I like this game over the total. It bothers me deep down inside that, they're still not locking in for certain that Ganji's playing, and I don't think I could take the over if he doesn't. There's a big drop-off in my mind, Ganji to the backup quarterback for Nevada. But if Ganji does play, I think Boise will get their points, and I think Nevada will take advantage of the couple of injuries that Boise State's got on the defensive side of the football right now heading into this game. So if Ganji plays, I will definitely go over the total here. It's 59.5, and we have seen some wild Boise-Nevada games in the past when they play in Reno, Nevada. All right, that's going to wrap up the show. We did it again. I know Big Man had to leave a little bit early. But we got through every single college football game on the Saturday card. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Over 200 viewers to the college football closing line. Really do appreciate it. We'll be back again next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for another edition of the college football closing line right here at sportsbookreview.com on the YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Good luck this weekend. Enjoy the day of college football action. We'll see you again on the college football closing line next Saturday. Good luck, everybody.